Last week, Vanessa Bourne interrupted a Dakota Kai promo, called her a scaredy cat. You could call me a lot of names. You can insult my family, but I'll be damned if you're going to call me a scaredy cat. You know what was really scary here in this match? Vanessa Bourne on offense. Thankfully, Dakota beat her, pinned her with this new flipping backstabber type move that I don't think I've seen her use before. And Shayna Baszler came out. And the storyline the past few weeks has been that Dakota Kai is absolutely terrified of Shayna Baszler. The mere sight of her sends chills down her spine. It's like something out of a horror movie. Dakota Kai reacts to Shayna Baszler the way that I reacted to Backlash about 2 matches into the show. So Baszler put Bourne in the choke. Dakota just watched and then walked out, didn't try to help her at all. Backstage, Kathy Kelly tries to get an interview with Dakota. All of a sudden, Shayna shows up, and she dared Dakota to do something, kick her in the face. Go ahead, do something. And when she didn't, Shayna left. You see, let that be a lesson. If you ignore the bully, eventually they will leave you alone. And so next week, actually, did I ever tell the story of the Lunchroom Brawl that I started when I was in the 7th grade? I don't remember if I've told this story before. It was on the subject of bullies. It was the first fight that I ever remember being in my entire life. And I use that word loosely. You'll know why in a second. But there was this kid, we'll call him Paul. And Paul had a screw loose. There was something wrong with this kid. And I think it was probably a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A dysfunctional family situation at home, which is kind of sad to look back on it. But anyway, he was not a well-behaved kid, and I kind of felt bad for him. But something was definitely off. I mean, this kid would bring gun magazines to school and sit there reading them and talk about all the things he wanted to do to people. It was really, if that happened today, he would be in Guantanamo Bay right now. But back then, nobody really thought anything of it. So anyway, Paul just kept annoying the crap out of me. He was in the same class as me, and he would just do stupid things just to get under people's skin, and I was no different. He would touch me and then deny that he touched me. He would go to touch me, but he would stop short and say, "I'm not touching you. See, I'm not touching you. You can't do anything about it." Just really trying to get under my skin. And look, anybody who knew me back then would be the first to tell you, I'm the last person to get in any kind of trouble. So I wasn't interested in pushing him back or slapping him around or throwing something at him. I did bite somebody in kindergarten once, but that was different. They deserved it. So in this case, I was not interested in getting in any kind of trouble. I just kept to my friends and kept to myself. Well, we're in the cafeteria for lunch. And it's like prison, where everybody sort of sticks together with their little cliques. Everybody goes and sits with their friends at their table. I'm sitting with my friends. Paul decides to sit right across from me. Same table, right on the opposite side, right across from me. And he starts kicking me under the table. He starts kicking me in the shin. And I warned him. I told him stop. And he wouldn't stop. I said, "You better stop or else." Now, I don't even think I knew what that meant. All I knew is that I wanted to punch him right in his fat face. That's about all I knew. So anyway, I warned him. I said, "Don't do it." But he kept doing it. He kept kicking me in the shin. And by the way, now every time I say the word shin, I think of Michael Cole calling Nakamura shin. So fuck you, Michael Cole. So he kicks me in the leg and that one more time, and that's it. That's it. I've had enough. I very calmly turn to my friend. And I tell him, "Watch my lunch." Brought like a bag lunch with me, right? I said, "Watch my lunch." And I proceed to get up from the table. Now, Paul sees this, and he's excited. I mean, he's all happy. He got exactly what he wanted. He got to me. I've been gotten. So we both take our stances. I would say we're probably standing, I don't know, maybe 10 feet from each other. I mean, there's a little bit of distance between us. And now it's really just a matter of who's going to throw the first punch. And nobody, I shouldn't say nobody. I mean, my friends were watching. They saw what was about to happen. But like everybody else was sort of in their own little zone. They didn't know that we were standing there in fighting position, ready to go at it. And he's waiting to see if I'm going to throw a punch, and I'm waiting to see what he's going to do. So finally, I decide I'm not waiting anymore. I'm taking my shot. And I lean forward. I sort of lunge forward. And I go to throw the punch. And I whiff. I mean, I wasn't even close to connecting. Okay? And Paul is this kid was no cruiserweight. Okay? It's not like he has the reflexes of a cat or anything like that. Okay, he has more like the reflexes of a dead decomposing cat. But I miss. And as soon as I miss, I hear somebody, I don't know who, somebody at another table. It wasn't one of my friends, but somebody stands up and just yells, "Fight!" Like at the beginning of the Mortal Kombat matches, it'd be like, "Fight!" Somebody just screams, "Fight!" Which is what would always happen whenever a fight broke out in the cafeteria. Some idiot would yell, "Fight!" and pandemonium would ensue. And normally I was the one who was watching. It was like a car crash. You can't help it, like, not look away. Normally I was like, somebody else is fighting. Well, now I'm in the middle of all this, right? And anyway, long story short, I opened my eyes. And when I opened my eyes, I'm laying on the ground, and I see one of my friends also laying on the ground. He must have gotten shoved down. Everybody was just going crazy. And it's just havoc. And so I'm down, Paul's down. I don't know how he got down, but I didn't knock him down, but he's down. Other random kids are down. The security guards rush over. They take us away. Now I'm scared to death. I'm going to get suspended from school. I've never gotten any kind of trouble before, except kindergarten when I bit that kid for taking my Lego. So I'm like, I don't want to get suspended. They take us to the dean's office. All I could think about is, it just so happened that night was parent-teacher conferences, where the parents come to school, they meet with your teachers to find out how you're doing. And I'm thinking, what the hell are my parents going to say when they find out that I got suspended from school? How do I get out of this? There's got to be a way out of this. So the dean, eventually, he kind of comes back over and he says, "I called your parents. Nobody was home." And he says, "Look, I'll tell you what." Because he could see I was like really emotionally, I was a little off kilter. He could tell how sort of anxious I was. And he says, "Look, I'll tell you what. I'll give you $20 if you take that money and walk to the supermarket." There was a supermarket like 2 blocks away, right by my house, actually. This was in when I lived in Canarsie in Brooklyn. He goes, "If you walk to the supermarket, and by the way, for those of you who are from Brooklyn and know the area, it's East 79th Street and Flatlands Avenue. That's where I used to live for many years." He goes, "If you walk to the supermarket and you buy a few bottles of soda for tonight, for the conferences, I won't suspend you." This is what he says to me. I can get out of this if I just take the money, do him this favor, leave the school, walk to the supermarket, buy the soda, and bring it back. I'm thinking, this is great. I can do that. My parents will be none the wiser. This is fantastic. Paul gets suspended. I get out of it. It's perfect. Forget how incredibly stupid it was for this guy to send me off school property. I mean, if I got hit by a car, this guy would have been out of a job. But I walk over. I buy the soda. I'm walking back, and who should see me but my father? I don't even remember why he was home, but he was home. It was like the middle of the afternoon, and he was home, and I see him. He sees me. He comes over. He says to me, "What the hell are you doing out of school?" I didn't know what to say. I said, the dean asked me to pick up some soda for the parent-teacher conferences. And he says, he goes, "That's interesting, because the dean actually left a message on the answering machine at home saying that you got into a fight at school." And I just remember thinking, well, the jig is up, because, my father had a short fuse. I never knew how he was going to react to things. Something would accidentally fall out of the fridge when he opened the door, and we'd end up with an obscenity-laced tirade in a hole in the wall. I just didn't know what to expect here. But he smiles, and he says, "I'm proud of you, son," and he starts laughing. What a relief. He was genuinely proud of me, too, when he heard about that. I didn't tell him I whiffed on the punch, but it was sort of this nice little unexpected father-son moment. The point of all of this is, Shayna Baszler is a bully, and Dakota Kai better make sure that she connects on that first punch, or else they'll both end up in William Regal's office, okay? That's the larger point here.